Yo, peace to the God's reflection. Welcome back to another chance opportunity. Now, today we're going to be diving into a powerful biological process called signal transduction. Now, signal transduction is basically how cells communicate with one another, right? And interestingly enough, we can relate this to our spiritual journeys and how we receive signals from our environment and utilize those signals to transform our lives. So let's dive into it. Let's break it down. So defined simply, signal transduction is the process by which a cell receives a signal from its environment, and the body of the cell, or the being of that cell, it takes that signal and uses it as action, right? Think of it as a communication system for the cell. So now you may be wondering, how does it work? I'm going to take you through the process, or the three phases that signal transduction embodies, right? The first phase is the binding of the receptor, right? Remember, a signal is being sent to the cell. On the skin of the cell is called the cell membrane. This is the receptor that's going to be used, that the signal is going to bind itself to. So once the signal or a molecule or some type of neurotransmitter from the environment binds to the receptor of the cell, the next phase is called intracellular signaling, right? This is the phase where there's going to be an initial reaction trigger inside of the cell that's going to start action. So that third phase, which is cellular response, is your body's or the cell's response to the signal. Now, this is either going to create growth, change, or a defense mechanism inside the body due to the signal. But let me give you an example of these three phases and how they work so that you can understand it. So say you have a cell phone. The cell phone represents the receptor, right? The cell phone is going to get a call that's going to trigger an action inside of your brain and your body. This is the pathway being signaled that leads to you answering a phone call, which is the cellular response. This is how they work. You got the receptor binding to the cell. Then you have the intracellular signaling, which triggers a response inside the brain. Then you have the cellular response that allows transformation inside of the biology of the cell. Now, you may be asking me, well, why is this important? Why is signal transduction important in biology? Well, remember, biology is the study of all living organisms, right? Like Chief teaches us. So when you're looking at biology, which is the so below principle of the law of correspondence, and astrology being the as above principle, we realize that we're actually studying the psychology of the mind, right? DNA is the molecular blueprint of all living things. In the middle of every cell lies DNA. That's what makes the cell what it is. This is the mind of the cell. This is the psychology of the cell. So studying biology and how the cell or the psychology of the cell reacts to the signals from the environment is very important for you to understand. And signal transduction is essential for every type of process, from growth to defense mechanisms. For instance, when the body detects a virus, it activates and opens up certain pathways that allows your immune system to react and protect you. And I got to bring this back to spirituality and the psychology of the mind, right? Because just as cells are receiving signals from its environment, human beings are cells made up of 50 trillions of cells moving as one unit. We too are receiving signals from the universe, from the sun, from our gurus, from our teachers, from our innate intuitive information. And all of these signals and information that we are picking up is helping us stay in tune with our environment. And with those signals that you get from your environment, you can transform your life if you know how to tune into the messages. This is why it's important that we study science. Science is the study and observation of nature. And if you want to understand knowledge of self, or understand how you are part of God's mind, then we must look at nature, right? An ancient Egyptian proverb states that the shortest and quickest road to knowledge of self is through nature. We have to study the nature of reality. We have to study the nature of the cell that we are in the 50 trillions of cells that make up our body, right? So when it comes to signal transduction, it's the signals from our environment that's controlling us, right? Dr. Bruce Lipton teaches about epigenetic, right? Chief put us on to that. Epigenetics means above genes, above the genetics. This is important for you to know too. This ties right in with signal transduction and how you are a cell picking up signals, transforming those signals into your biology to stay in tune with your reality, right? Epigenetics shows how the environment is controlling your perception, which is how you think, and your genes, which is your expression, your behavior, how the cells behave in your body, and how you're going to essentially move in your external reality, right? They were teaching us in science and inside of public education systems a central dogma, right? What is a central dogma? A dogma is religious beliefs based in persuasion and not scientific fact. So we were being taught lies and misinformation inside of science classes. We have to understand that society today doesn't teach us whole information. This is an incomplete system, and all of the teachings that we are being given has been based on speculation, philosophy, chiefly speculative ideas and theories, and no observation and scientific studies or proof or facts upon these realizations. They're just ideas that everybody agreed upon and decided, hey, we're going to take that and run with it. But now we have the updated information, which is signal transduction, epigenetics, right? Not the central dogma where it shows that information runs in a uni sequence, in a unilateral sequence, right? The DNA, the signals run from the DNA to the RNA to the protein. You and I are the proteins. Proteins create life. They create cells. We being taught that the information only going from a uni trait down. We're not being taught that as the protein, we can control our behavior and how we perceive life from the ground. We were being taught that we were controlled and being ruled, and our whole lives was being ruled only by the genes. When that's not true. When studies show now that the information wasn't running just down from the DNA to the protein. No, the protein can be changed by the environment. So if you place yourself in the correct environment, if you place yourself around the correct people, the correct information, the correct setting where the cells in your body can receive and be a receptor to the correct information that allows you to evolve as a cell, then you're good. But if you place yourself in an environment where it's not conducive for your growth and your evolution as a cell, then you're only going to destroy yourself, right? Dr. Bruce Lipton did a study on multi-potential stem cells, right? He took 3 Peachtree dishes and set stem cells in each of these Peachtree dishes with different environments. One of the Peachtree dishes had bone cell environment. The other one was in liquid that was muscle. The other one was in fat environment. Each stem cell that he put inside of these respective environments grew into a cell that was dependent upon the culture medium that it was in. So what you are, how you think, how you're going to behave, what signals you're receiving is dependent upon the environment that you place yourself in. Reflection. Now I want you to ask yourself, what signals am I getting or receiving from my environment and my reality? What people am I talking to? What food am I eating? What city am I in? What environment am I in? All of these things has to be taken into account so that you can truly perceive reality for what it is. The study of epigenetics and studying biology and signal transduction allows you to empower yourself and for you to know that, hey, I have the power to change my life. I'm not a victim to these signals that I'm receiving from my environment. I can't point the finger at the pharmaceutical people. I can't point the finger at my people. I can't point the finger at my family. No, you're responsible for the settings and the signals that your cells in your body receive because you are God to them. You are the governing force to the cells in your body, like Chief teaches. So get in tune with the rest of what you are, all right? Reflect the life from my higher self. There is free.